I feel like hopium and like gut feelings always play together in these things, like predicting the future. I would say that crypto itself still has to prove that it has real world use cases, that it can do better with the technology than without it. And so I feel like this will be one of the major things we'll see in the next 5 years, definitely. I hope so. If not, something would be wrong in my opinion. The other thing I would say is we will see a lot of fighting in the space around like which technology is the correct one, which one should we build on, but also fighting in regards of how should we follow regulations, how we should we impact regulations as well, should we censor transactions from parties we don't want in our financial systems, or should we be an open system for everyone, for example? And I feel like this is what will basically be the driving discussions around in the next few years.
That there will be more interest in really the technology, using it as changing it for the society. Think like crashes or bad behavior, everywhere where you see moral hazard problems. I think there are people who really want to have a different kind of system.
Just like any other infrastructure you have out there, right? 5G cellular networks, satellite communication, internet access, solar power. It's just another piece of infrastructure that you can opt into, that you can connect to, that you can interact with. And we don't really have a way of telling right now what that's going to look like, whether you're going to have your assets there, do your day-to-day payments at the grocery store, or if you're going to have long-term investments there. If this is just a means for banks to come to an agreement or exchange assets between borders efficiently. But it is a piece of technology that will stick around for sure. I'm pretty sure that whenever crypto becomes successful, people will stop seeing it as crypto.
So I think in 3 years' time, I think a lot of the infrastructure, a lot of the tooling will be built and improved. Also, lots of regulatory work will happen, so we will have some sort of regulation in place that people can rely on. It's not so much as a guessing game anymore. I think so. The next 3 years, I would say it's groundwork. A lot of groundwork still to be done, even though a lot has already happened.
I think one thing that is going to possibly begin to happen are that maybe regulators, governments and stuff, they're going to hopefully realize that trying to force the hand, let's say, of crypto users, come down on it hard, it's not really something you can scalably enforce, right? So it is my hope that they kind of start to realize the value and realize the kind of like hands that will be dealt to them by the power of numbers, and that they'll start to actually treat crypto fairly.
So I think one big topic is definitely going to be regulatory frameworks. On the European level with MiCA, there are first attempts to regulate the space. Also the SEC in the US is doing a lot. So regulation is definitely going to be a part, and I think we're moving more from the base layer, fight on the base layer, to the adoption layer. So I think usability and all these things will become more important.
We will see a lot of fighting in the space around like which technology is the correct one, which one should we build on, but also fighting in regards of how should we follow regulations, how we should we impact regulations as well. Should we censor transactions from parties we don't want in our financial systems, or should we be an open system for everyone, for example? And I feel like this is what will basically be the driving discussions around in the next few years.
I would hope that in 3 years we demonstrated at least one credible path to mass adoption. Yeah, making it a little bit more than it is today. I think a lot of what we see right now is circular in a sense. So it's kind of self-serving in a way that it works for the insiders, but it's not particularly useful or helpful for the huge majority of the population. So I would hope in 3 years we can demonstrate that indeed blockchain can help a lot of people live better lives. I think in 5 to 10 years that's more difficult, but I guess right now I would assume that a lot of the systems that we use today, and especially in the financial services industry, that they would get substituted with some blockchain equivalent. I think it will happen one way or the other. It's just a question of how exactly and when. But I think it's going to be really a fundamental part of our technology stack that we use throughout everything that we use today. So all kinds of financial transactions, gaming, whatever it is. I think if it involves two people or individuals transacting with each other, no matter what it is, there's a good chance that blockchain will underpin all of that. So it's really rebuilding the kind of the digital pillars of our world in a sense.
A lot of fundamental things have been built to move on with. 5 years, I think like the first wave of the mainstream adopted a lot of things in Web3, and we can see like slight changes in a lot of different ways in societies. And 10 years, I hope there has been already a massive cultural shift so that we really see it also with a lot of people in mainstream using it every day, and also not just using it, but also having the shift in their mindset of really thinking differently.
So I think this is really the core challenge, I think, for the next years, tackling mass adoption, reaching more people with the technology and changing their lives for the better. I think one obvious use case, like one white whale out there is just simply micropayments, like Visa, MasterCard, PayPal style micropayments. So this is just one example where I would say it just shows how difficult it is to get there, because to do that you need cryptography in the hands of the common person, which simply is something that is not here yet. So just getting people to being able to sign a transaction with some kind of hardware device is just incredibly challenging. So I think just looking at this one vertical, it kind of shows how far we've come already, but also how much work is left to be done.